Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to JoyNews Today. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kokom, namely we're on DTT because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 125. We are a home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon, we'll be talking about the IMF releasing the first tranche to Ghana and also giving us some advice on measures government could take to tighten our economic regime. Now, the NDC also declares readiness for Assin North by elections as Supreme Court directs Parliament to expunge the name of Jatukwesen from its record. Let's take you straight to the Ministry of Finance, where there's a joint meeting between the IMF and Ghana. Well, we apologize for the breaking feed. We'll be taking you back to the Finance Ministry as and when we get the feed. But also in this bulletin, NDC declares readiness for a Sin North by-election as Supreme Court directs Parliament to expunge James Jachukwesen's name from its records. Plus, activate sanitation bylaws to arrest stray animals as means of generating revenue. Minister for Sanitation, Cecilia Dapa, urges local assemblies. We have reactions from an MCE on the sustainability of this directive. And what's informing the craze for tattoos among youngsters lately? We'll tell you more in our latest piece. All of these plus business, sports, world news, and showbiz coming up shortly. Please stay for details. The International Monetary Fund has identified the scrapping of tax exemptions, adjustment of levies on fuel, and increasing of income tax as measures the government could implement to boost revenue mobilization under its $3 billion support program. This is contained in its May 2023 country report on Ghana's request for the $3 billion support program. Managing Director of the fund, Kristalina Georgieva, says the program for Ghana is only the first step towards restoring economic stability.
Congratulations to Ghana for a strong program of reforms to revitalize growth and reduce the country's debt burden. I'm very pleased that the IMF Executive Board has approved today a 3-year, $3 billion support for this program. We are proud to be partners with Ghana in addressing the difficult economic and financial conditions the country is facing. Today's decision is also a major milestone for the G20 Common Framework. The commitment by the Official Creditors Committee to help make Ghana's debt sustainable was essential for the approval of the fund's program, and it signals important progress in the G20 Common Framework. The decision our board has taken is the beginning of the work we will do together with the authorities of Ghana for the implementation of the program for the benefit of the people of Ghana.
My colleague Joseph Akable has been sharing details of the IMF's call for some changes to the nation's tax regime.
IMF makes the point that there's domestic revenue mobilization challenges. In fact, it identifies as a major challenge that government must resolve. So its fiscal Affairs Department actually carried out a tax diagnostic mission to Ghana, and they've identified the following potential measures that government can implement. One is removing VAT exemptions, which are estimated to be at close to 2% of GDP, reforming CIT by phasing out tax holidays and exemptions, and strengthening safeguards against profit shifting. They are also asking for a reduction in customs exemptions, increasing progressivity in personal income taxes, and automatically adjusting fuel levies by exchange rate movement or inflation. We know that another thing that industry has been talking about over the period also has to do with expenditure cuts. The IMF in this report says primary expenditure will be reduced by 2 percentage points of GDP, mainly by one, lowering capital expenditures through project reprioritization, and providing around 0.9% of GDP of savings, and 2, containing the wage bill by limiting wage increases and hiring. Rationalization goods and services spending also is also identified here. So these measures are to be supported by steps to tighten expenditure commitment controls of both MDAs and statutory funds to protect the most vulnerable from the impact of these measures. It expects the authorities to strengthen key targeted social programs, and one of those identified programs is the LEAP, which we know is being implemented as well.
Well, Professor of Finance at the University of Cape Coast Business School, John Gach, has been sharing his thoughts. He says that the development is welcomed to improve our economic situation, but wants Ghanaians to brace themselves for tough times ahead.
Yes, I think that is a good news because when this money hits our account, it has effect on our balance of payment position, and it also has effect on our currency. So that is good news. But for the subsequent tranches, we have to meet what we call our benchmark before the amount will be released. And that is where the main issue is. That calls for commitment from the part of the government in ensuring that they keep to fiscal prudence and ensure that the right thing is done so that from time to time, every 6 months, we can meet the target, and during the review, we can pass and get the next tranche and move on with our agenda. We are already aware that more fiscal measures will be put in place in the coming months or in the coming years to consolidate the quest to expand the revenue net and then have sufficient revenue. But tax exemption will have to be looked at very carefully. We shouldn't be granting tax exemption to businesses, especially international foreign direct investment into the country, where we leave the domestic direct investment. We should create jobs for our people. This will be a very difficult and turbulent moment for Ghana. Ghanaians ordinarily cannot go through all this pack of difficulties. People will be complaining. There will be widespread hardship. But the idea is that we need to pay economic prices for services delivered from the power sector, utility sector, and across the portfolio of services provided by government institutions. That is the idea. These are the things that we are not able to do ourselves. So when you enter into the program, you will be forced to do it. And the incident of the burden will always fall on the citizens and the consumers. So that is why I say we should expect deeper pain for this IMF program that we have now signed on to.
We'll be monitoring the IMF and Ghana joint press conference. We'll be bringing you more from the Ministry of Finance. But let's move on to other stories. Movement of motorists was heavily impeded this morning at the Kpombaria stretch of the main Tema Plough Road due to flood waters which took over the road in front of Bell Aqua Bottling Company. Some affected motorists who spent hours in the early morning traffic have been speaking with JoyNews' Carlos Kaloni.
So this is the situation here on the main Aflau Tema Road in front of the Bell Aqua Bottling Company, where you can see the flood actually impeding the movement of vehicles here. According to some of the motorists I have been speaking with, they're telling me for 5 good hours they've been in this traffic without any movement.
I'm from Pampam, 5 hours now in the traffic. Too much.
It starts about 2 hours now. It starts in the morning shower. But up to now, all the waters took. Because of that, the cars can never move very well. And people are helping the car motors, or that everything will go side and side.
Almost, it started around 8 that way when it started raining. So since it started raining, then the flooding is oncoming. Now, those going to work and go stuff, they are finding it difficult to go. So the guys over here are helping them in such a way that the cars can pass through the flooding distance to the work, and it's very, very serious. Very, very serious. So we are telling the government that they should come and solve this problem before things get worse.
Due to the rain, we cannot cross the bridge, so we need to reverse. So we return to use this route. And still there is a traffic here. And this traffic too, it is caused by the same rain at Belakwa. So the rain there has caused the flood, and the flood is leading us this way.
It's very bad, the traffic. It's very bad, you can't go. You have to stop about 30 minutes before you move. Yeah, so I managed more than 1 hour before I got here. And here to now, I can't do anything, I have to go back.
I work at Unilever, but then I'm supposed to be at work around 8 o'clock. But then because of this, I'm still stuck here and I'm not able to go. So it needs to be done for us. So it's just a plea because this is a main route we use to wherever we go. People from 25, people from Bediako, they all switch over here to go to their various work.
Reporting from Belakwa here at Pombaria in the Katamanso municipality. My name is Carlos Kaloni for Joy News.
Now, the Supreme Court's ruling on the parliamentary status of Gach MP for Asin North has generated a sharp divide between the two parties. Parliament is expected to declare the seat of Asin North vacant after the Supreme Court declared as null and void the election and swearing in of James Gach as Member of Parliament. Speaking on the AM show, the Director of Legal Affairs of the NPP, Gary Nemako, said the argument of his renunciation is untenable, but member of the legal team of the NDC, Eduje Tamaklo, disagrees with this position.
Somebody who you are in the country and they realize that you are a person who can be of extra charges, they will refuse it. If you put an application, you don't put the required fees, it will be refused. The required documents, it will be refused. If you put an application, you have to go for an interview. All right? If at the embassy, if you are outside Canada, if you go to the embassy where you live, you go for the interview, it can be refused. So why don't they make the argument that when you put an application, it means that you have renounced it? I don't understand that application, that argument. I don't get it. It can be refused. So you have to wait. So Question's case, what you ought to have done was to have waited patiently. When he gets the certificate of renunciation, which he got on the 20th of November, before the elections, then you can now put in what? The filing processes. Clearly, at the 45 and 1994, I made it very clear. At the time when you are filing with the EC, you ought to have been qualified within the meaning of the 45 and 94, which means that you do not owe allegiance to any other country other than Ghana, and that you're a registered voter, blah, 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 you don't owe taxes, blah, blah. All this must be there. Let's not forget that until the amendment was done, if you had a dual citizenship, you cannot hold a Ghanaian passport. And then the amendment was done to allow Ghanaian citizens to hold on to foreign passports at the same time hold on to Ghanaian passports. But the law said, as far as Ghana is concerned, they will not allow you to hold certain positions in Ghana. That is the law. That is the law, and that remains the law. Until such a time that the law is changed, that remains the law. So, I mean, I really do not understand why somebody will tell you, oh, you know, he put in the application, so the intention was that he's renouncing, and so therefore he has renounced. No. You go and check. And when they go and check, they realize that even to be eligible to file, there are conditions attached to it.
That Rawlings' father is Scottish or Irish. So USA is from the United Kingdom. And so by reason of this, Rawlings needed to show a certificate of renunciation of his UK citizenship before he should be allowed to contest. Even though it was in the High Court, the High Court judge demonstrated in a very seminal ruling contention of the plaintiff is that Rawlings needed to go to the UK High Commission to obtain a certificate of renunciation before he can contest as a presidential candidate. It would be bizarre. Because, like the judge reasoned, Rawlings, having joined the Ghana Armed Forces in the 1960s, okay, had taken the oath of allegiance to Ghana and only Ghana. Not only that, when he did the two coups, again, he took the oath of allegiance to this country. So the judge looked at the circumstance, the peculiar circumstance, and concluded. And that is how come the injunction that was brought by Bilton to stop the Rawlings, and that provision is the same as this provision. At that time, it was the TNDC law, which was to be used for the election then. That law has been transported. What lawyers will say is inquiry material with Article 94(2)(8), the same provision. So the operative word there is allegiance, not citizenship.
We can now go to the Ministry of Finance, where there's a joint press conference by the IMF and Ghana, and our representative will be the Deputy Finance Minister, Adams, who is representing Ghana. Let's cross over and speak with Fred Smith, who's been monitoring events for us. Fred, what are the issues coming up this morning?
Well, the officials of the Finance Ministry have called some media practitioners to brief them on the agreement with the IMF for a bailout, and that you recall that happened yesterday. But it's a voluminous document, and they intend to explain it to the public so there's support. The Finance Minister himself has been calling for support from the public to ensure that this is a success. And so the briefing is to get the understanding of these media practitioners, so in their communication, they are able to put out the right information at the right time. The briefing has just started with the Chief Director of the Ministry, Eva Menz, addressing the media and also making the same call for support of this program so that it is a success. The Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Mohammed Amin Adam, is one of the key persons addressing the media, and he'll be supported by other technical staff of the ministry.
In terms of the next tranches to be given to us as part of the 3 billion, we understand we have to meet certain requirements. Do we know these requirements?
Well, not yet. As I mentioned, the briefing is just getting underway, and so all of that will come up. But it's also a briefing that's being done behind closed doors, and so cameras and audio recordings are not allowed for this briefing, which means that the officials only want the journalists to have proper understanding and also demonstrate that Ghana is being transparent about this. You recall that some persons, experts, have also mentioned that there are parts of the conditionalities that may hurt the country in some way, and so it's the reason for this briefing to ensure that journalists have a full and better understanding of it before they communicate to the public.
You heard the JoyNews editor, Fred Smith. Will definitely keep an eye on this meeting at the Finance Ministry and bring you more in our in our bulletins as and when we get them. Let's move on to other stories. Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abinadapa, is urging various district, municipal and metropolitan assemblies across the country to enforce the sanitation bylaws to arrest and seize stray animals on the streets. According to her, proceeds from such arrests can be used to develop and support government projects. The minister made this call during a familiarization tour of the Greater Accra region. More in this report.
The Sanitation Minister, Cecilia Abinadapa, revealed that Amasama Municipal Assembly has implemented its sanitation bylaws in the arrest and sale of stray animals, which has contributed to a rise in their revenue mobilization. Hence, any assembly that does same will have her full support.
We have sanitation courts, and I will encourage all the assemblies to take advantage of it and apply the bylaws and prosecute. We support them 110%. When you let your cows stray, they should seize the cows, arrest the cows, maybe if I should use that word, sell the cows and use the money to help with projects in the assemblies.
Do we have a fair idea as to maybe the number of people that have been prosecuted?
I don't have. We have to collate from the assemblies. But this cow, goats, sheep thing, Amasaman has the biggest record. Clement, my son. He records all those things. He arrests the goats, whatever, and he sells. And uses the money for projects within the assemblies. And I will encourage Madam to do the same.
Responding to questions on Akufo-Addo's promise of making Accra the cleanest city in Africa before the end of his tenure in office, Madam Cecilia Abinadapa said government is still on course.
We should be on course. You see, you start from step one. I'm sure you are interested in that. We'll always call on our head of state that he made a good call. And we are all part of the solution to the good call. I, as the minister in charge of sanitation and water resources, I'm happy that what we used to see as heaps in the town, it's no more. You've been with us from Medina to, no. People are advised to make sure they have bins. We have already distributed 8,100 bins to institutions, to markets, along highways, and we are going to continue. They have gone through wear and tear. We've taken stock. We know what is in and what is out. We need to go back and restock with the assemblies. So we are working together collaboratively, and I'm happy what I see in town. You know, I used to think that the sand on the roads. Yes, we've also collaborated with Roads Ministry to make sure those sands are collected.
The tour of the minister took the team to Old Fadama, where garbage were heaped by the Odo River, exposing residents to environmental dangers and floods. Assembly member for Old Fadama, Musa Ziad, says until the primary problem of providing refuse disposal equipment is addressed, it will be difficult to prevent residents from dumping refuse into the Odo River.
The major challenges we are facing as a community is that every community is supposed to have a service provider, a waste service provider, who is supposed to come around either on allocated days or every day to pick refuse that are done in the community. Unfortunately, Old Fadama is exceptional. We don't have a service provider, and once the people make waste and you don't provide them with the alternative, they have no option than to dump at places.
The Ghana Boundary Commission is hinting at a possible reconstruction of some boundary pillars which played a crucial role in the 2017 8-list ruling but are currently buried in the beach sand of the Western region. At the opening ceremony of a joint technical meeting in Côte d'Ivoire, National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotier, said the construction of a lighthouse in the previously disputed area with Côte d'Ivoire will also help align the common land boundary terminus. Maxwell Agbagba has more.
The main objective of the meeting in Grand Bassam, Côte d'Ivoire, is to continue discussions on the process of reaffirming the land boundary between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire by replacing damaged boundary pillars. It is also for the implementation of the 2017 ruling by the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea, ITLOS. ITLOS in Hamburg, Germany in 2017 ruled in favor of Ghana in the maritime dispute with Côte d'Ivoire. The chamber, in a unanimous decision, ruled that there has not been any violation on the part of Ghana on Côte d'Ivoire's maritime boundary. It also noted that Ghana has not violated Côte d'Ivoire's sovereign rights with its oil exploration in the disputed basin. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the meeting, National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotia, urged the two commissions to consider the construction of a lighthouse in the area to align with the land boundary terminus, which serves as a guide for Ghana's maritime boundary.
Another priority is to adopt and possibly coordinate the reaffirmation of the land boundary terminus. That's pillar 54, 55 on the Ghana side at Newtown. One thing we have realized is that the pillars, some of the pillars have been submerged by the sand. And let's remember that it is the land boundary terminus in that area that was used by Italy's ruling, and that is where the guiding, that is what guides us so far as our maritime boundary is concerned. We're hoping that this meeting will be able to set up a date as part of the plan of action to be able to go for an inspection of those pillars and decide on possible reconstruction of those pillars.
The craze for tattoos has been on the rise among young people in Ghana lately. Tattoos have become a form of self-expression and body art among the youth, with many opting for bold and intricate designs which convey their personal stories and beliefs. In the following feature, my colleague Jacqueline Samaya has been exploring that subject.
Tattoos and piercing have become increasingly popular among young people in Ghana, with many seeing it as a form of self-expression and a way to showcase their personality. The trend has been on the rise in recent years, with many young Ghanaians embracing tattoo as a form of body art. The popularity of tattoos can be seen in the growing number of tattoo parlors and artists in Ghana. Many young people are taking advantage of the opportunity to get inked by skilled artists who have honed their crafts through years of practice and experience. Meet Senna. She has over 18 tattoos, each of which holds special significance for her.
Right now, I have over 18 tattoos, different parts of my body, but most of them are on my hand.
Okay,
as you can see.
What do they mean to you?
So each tattoo has a personal meaning. To me personally, all my tattoos have meanings, but I can explain a couple of them for you if you want.
Sure.
So, okay, this is actually my first tattoo. It's kind of wiped off. It means God is greater than the highs and the lows. I've got this one, with God all things are possible. That's my mom's favorite Bible verse. And I've got this for my favorite TV show. This is the yin and yang sign. It means life is full of possibilities. In every good, there's a bad aspect. Someone has the other half. So there's an 8-ball pool. Life is full of chances. Like life is a gamble. You either win or you lose. There's a spaceship. It means out of the world. This is a Latin thing. It's called memento mori. It means human beings are here for just a moment. And then this is a Greek god. I love Bugs Bunny. And then the spade card. It means like higher. I'm higher than, yeah, and a couple of other ones.
The hatred Senna encounters on a daily basis is normal to her. Despite how fashionable some body modifications may be, society has its own perceptions about them, and those who use them are frequently stigmatized.
I just take it like it is. People are actually gonna love it and people are not. I can't tell you to like my tattoos because like I like them, you get me? So it depends on whoever it is. If you like them, fine. If you don't, it's good.
Tattoos have become more socially acceptable in Ghana, with many people seeing them as a form of fashion statement. Many celebrities, including musicians and actors, have tattoos and often display them proudly in public, further fueling the trend among young people. However, there are still some cultural and religious concerns around tattoos in Ghana. Some traditional beliefs and practices discourage the use of tattoos, and some religious groups see them as a form of defilement of the body. As a result, some people still hesitate to get tattoos for the fear of being judged or ostracized.
Hello there. Currently, I am in front of Tattoo by Grace Studios at Asylum Down. I'm ready to get a tattoo today. Join me.
Jacqueline Somayabua with that report. Let's take a break on Joy News today. When we return, there's more in business.
Welcome to Business. My name is Darrell Powell. The Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Stephen Amoah, has said even though inflation appears to have taken a nosedive in the last few months, more needs to be done to further push it down to a single digit. According to him, even though the Russia-Ukraine war as well as the COVID-19 pandemic have caused global economic uncertainties, government can still work to return its economic variables to pre-COVID era. Stephen Amoah was speaking with journalists at the Ghana Business League Awards held in Accra. Carlos Coloni has more.
Held under the theme celebrating leading businesses and benchmarking incredible business acumen, the Ghana Business League Awards celebrate and project leading local businesses in manufacturing, supply and service industries. Graced by top business executives, members of parliament, traditional rulers, as well as the diplomatic community, 16 top businesses were awarded in various categories. Speaking to the media on the sidelines, the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Stephen Amoah, said, among other things, that more needs to be done to reduce the country's inflation to a single digit.
I think it's still high. We need to work on it to bring it a little bit more down. We want a single digit inflation. Remember, before the COVID and the Russian war, we had average inflationary rate of about 7% for 3 years. We have deficit somewhere around 5%. In fact, constantly for 3 years. We had that for about 40-year all-time best record. Lending rate had been reduced from about 40% to about 20%. Policy rate from about 25.5 to about 12. We're doing so much, we're considering the primary macro indicators, and then they jumped. But of course, I mean, it's making standard of living a little bit problematic. And when people complain, of course, we empathize with them because we are all suffering.
The 16 businesses recognized for their compelling performances cut across sectors such as the telecommunication, petroleum, banking, real estate, health, and insurance. Touching on the successes being chalked by these Ghanaian businesses, the event director for the award, Seth Danso Asante, says excessive tax and unstable exchange rate are some factors hindering local firms that government ought to take a second look at.
Various Ghanaian businesses are doing well. We have companies like the B5 Plus, which are not only operating here in Ghana, but are also in other West African countries. During our researches, we noticed that the tax factor, so how businesses are taxed in Ghana, and secondly to the exchange rate in terms of the dollar, it's really affecting Ghanaian businesses. So if governments can put in place measures and policies that would ensure the dollar is very stable, because most of these businesses does a lot of imports. Raw materials are brought from other parts of the world.
Now, Ghanaian manufacturers and industry captains for the first time will be hosting other African counterparts for this year's PUPA conference and exhibition in Accra. The event, which provides a platform for market expansion and avenue for sharing ideas, will also support activities of smaller businesses across the continent.
The Processing and Packaging ProPack Ghana 2024
3 is an important event for businesses seeking to form partnerships both within and outside their jurisdictions. Ghana is hosting the event for the first time as it aims to lead in industrial growth and become the continent's manufacturing hub. Regional Director for West Africa, Montgomery Group, George Pearson, told journalists that Ghana is well positioned to host the event.
And I think there's a lot of, particularly within the agro-processing market, you're now seeing a lot of international companies wanting to get in and be a part of the Ghanaian manufacturing growth.
So what are some of the key issues or concerns that are likely to be addressed by the end of this program?
The Ghana, Propac Ghana really, it's a number of things. One, you are bringing in international technology partners. So it's not just the big companies looking for the multinationals. We have a range of solutions and products from companies that will be providing lines for cutting mango, for lines for making mango pulp or pineapple pulp, right through to the SMEs that are looking for good quality but affordable, sustainable packaging.
Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Albert Kasim Devoir, is confident that Ghanaian businesses will take advantage of the exhibition and conference to add value to their products.
And for us to collaborate with other institutions such as Propac Ghana is for us a dream come true, because most of our exporters go out there with not very qualitative packaging, and so to have an organization that is going to sharpen their skills in that direction for us is very appropriate, and we think the time is now.
The event will open up the country to other potential investors in the manufacturing space.
More business news coming up at the top of the hour on the marketplace. Up next, sports. It's time for sports here on Midday. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, Isaac Dogbe has rejected assertions his height is a disadvantage to his career. The 28-year-old lost the WBO featherweight title in 2018 to Emmanuel Navarrete. He was also recently floored by Rubaisi Ramirez in the weight division, with the two winners comparatively taller than the Ghanaian boxer. But Dogbe says his height has never been challenging in the ring.
If size mattered, then I don't think I'd be in a sports. I don't think I would have become a champion. If size mattered, I don't think Tyson would be a champion either. But hey, whatever you are given, you have to be able to work with it. There's an old saying that say when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade out of it. Me too. That's how God made me. He made me 5'4". Tall guy, very tall. So I use that to my own advantage, and it's been successful. God has been great, and I'm grateful for how I am. I know some people want to see me at 6'4", 6 foot something, but unfortunately, that's not gonna happen. Like I said earlier on, at this point, you don't really expect anything less, because everyone is good at this level, so southpaws are challenging to fight, everyone will say it, but there's also a way to fight them. It's not anything tedious to work around it, especially when you have this much experience as I have. I wouldn't say it played anything of significance in the fight, because I was catching him, as the fight was going on too. So it's not really much of any difference.
Good afternoon, welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews Today. Now, international reggae and dancehall artist Stonebwoy has pointed out a number of ways the Ghanaian music industry can get a representation globally. According to Stonebwoy, the country must be intentional about supporting creatives. He spoke on PM Express with Evans Mensah.
The creative arts, side that exists, I think there should be that the president himself must be very interested, because it is such that I know there are so many things going on, but just to make a perfect example, that president at the time was specifically involved and called and said, how, why? Listen, you come. Okay. How do we do this? Put that together, put this together, and they started a revolution of turning the 419 that everybody was aware of or whatever into the Afrobeats giant of today, So these are the pointers. Government has to be very, very involved. Our creative and art structures have to really work. We have to invest. We have to make it encouraging for people to be able to invest in the movies, the music, the arts basically, because they are moving hand in hand. Yeah. Nigerian movies are speeding. They're featuring in different heights. So that's it. We need to pay critical attention. When you take somebody drew my attention as an older person. Like when you take like a PMP, you see the news, it's an old person. Somebody was saying this story. Yeah. The entertainment news day back. Yeah. Like that tells you the priority that is placed on creative art in this country. I don't think that we place priority on creative art so well enough to be able to compete on the global levels. It compete in quotes, because I don't see a competition, I only see representation. Because once you're pushing well enough, you will represent for yourself, and nobody can deny your place. When it comes to creative arts, you just need to be able to be seen and pushed, because we have gurus who are of Ghanaian origin who reside abroad, like the badasses, we have top-notch people in the creative arts industry abroad who can actually lend a hand when authorities really want to.
Meanwhile, Stonebwoy has expressed interest in working with 2 top female musicians in the US. Guess who made the list?
I featured most of the people that I've been dying to feature.
Okay,
most, great. Because I have to be grateful. The Shaggies, the Beanie Mans, the Sean Paul, the Angelique Kidjos, that is internationally. So right now I'm thinking technical too much. Okay. To be able to just move like fan. I will do Taylor Swift,
You're kidding me?
Yeah, I'll do a Taylor Swift or a Rihanna.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that Taylor Swift one. I'm looking forward to that. That will be very fascinating indeed. And I understand you are in school too. Goodness me, Stonebwoy. Yeah, you're looking, who gave me the hints? I understand you are in school. Stonebwoy, you're in school with all the work that you're doing. You're actually still in school. Why? You don't want people to know you're in school. You are in school.
I do.
Yeah, you are in school.
But
and I'm told you're doing.
Me give her something with the sweet and ginger. She never get him mad and sick. She call me every morning, say she tired of the mac and cheese. One thing more of the geezer. Well, I want time touch and she already fainting. I am time we be participating. She never know what I'm anticipating. The mission is her heart for the taking, yo. Me, I want you long time. I did see you, Virgin, it no be one time. Baby, I want to go into the future with you. I'm not gonna leave you on the end of the road. Give me your love and you know it's safe.
I said that'll be all for Showbiz here.
Definitely, and that'll be it for the bulletin this afternoon. My name is Aisha Brian. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. Enjoy the rest of our programs.